Hi, I'm Jeremy Lanier, Director of IT at Panologic, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to install Pano System for Cloud. So I have a Windows 7 loaded up on a laptop. I'm going to start by browsing to our download page. That's download.panologic.com. I'm going to select download for Pano System for Cloud 1.00. Fill in some brief stuff. Okay, I'm going to accept the EULA and choose two things right now. So the Pano controller Cloud ISO, this is the ISO file that will burn our server software to. And the Panologic USB installer. This basically takes the ISO file and lets you copy it to a USB stick instead of a CD-ROM drive. Now, for the sake of expediency, I pre-downloaded these things and put them on the desktop, so I'm going to show you the install while these other guys are just going in the background. So here's the ISO file and here's the installer. I'm going to pop my USB stick in to the USB port on the laptop. Make sure I know which drive it's coming in as. So it shows up as a E drive. You'll have to make sure that you format this with FAT32, but the utility lets you format it for you if you don't have the ability to do that. Make sure you don't have everything else on there, of course. This is the installer. You go through a Panologic EULA accept, and then you browse to the Panologic ISO file. And then if your USB doesn't show up on the list, then you can click show all drives and select the drive. Make sure you don't select your C drive and accidentally overwrite that, because that would be bad. Click yes to this and let it do its thing. Depending on it's about a 650 megabyte ISO, so depending on the speed of your USB stick, this can take anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple of minutes. Okay, so now that our install to USB is complete, we will pop the disk out and start it up on our server installation. Okay, now that we have the image burned to the USB stick, I'm going to install it onto a server. When I boot it up, I'm going to choose an alternative boot menu so that we can do a one-time boot from the USB stick. So on the Dell laptop, that's just F12. Okay, I'm going to select USB storage device from the menu and run the install. And from this menu, I'm going to choose option 1, which is to install to the hard drive. I'm going to leave all the settings default, so English language, English keyboard, etc., etc. It also lets you select your time zone. I'm going to leave that for Los Angeles. And then finally, it's going to let you select the disk. If you already have a partition on the disk, you're going to have to erase it. You can't run these side by side. If you have more than one drive in the system, then you'll see it from the drop-down list. And if that's the case, just make sure you're installing to the boot drive. Our software can run on most hardware, but if you have any doubts, you can check the compatibility list for Ubuntu 10.04. That's what this was based off of. Okay, now that it's finished, I'll restart it. Then we can start with the next phase, which is to connect a Pano to the system. Pop the media out and then do a reboot. I'm going to log in with our default password. And I'm going to choose to set a static IP address for the system. Okay, we are done with the install. Next step is to connect the Pano. Okay, now that the server's installed, the final step is to connect the Pano. And before we get started, I want to show you how I have everything set up. So I have a management laptop right here, which I'm going to use to connect to the server remotely. I have a Pano over here connected to keyboard, video, and mouse, connected through the network to a Netgear switch, which has a connection to our to the internet. And then finally, I have the server in the background, which is on the same LAN segment. So I'm connecting to the server, just using a web browser and going to the IP address. And I'm going to log in with the same default password that I logged in to the console with earlier. I'm going to click OK to the 60-day free evaluation period for the trial. And then I'm going to expand the discovery configuration section and enable broadcast discovery. So the broadcast discovery is really only suitable for small deployments that are on a single network segment. If you have a larger segment, then you'd want to use something that we call DHCP-based discovery. Once I've enabled that discovery, the Pano should be pinged, if you will, by our server and should immediately go to a connected status. And if you look at the panel, you see that the light switched from solid to amber, which means that it had a IP address, to blue, which means that it's connected to a session. And it immediately connected to a Chrome browser session. The Chrome browser session is locked down. There's basically nothing else going on here besides the browser itself. And I'm gonna just browse to a website here. How about this one? Okay, and we're done. Well, there you have it. I have demonstrated a very simple install, and it took less than 10 minutes to do the whole thing. So if you want to check it out, go to download.panologic.com.